will call the meeting back to order to reconvene in open session. We were in closed session earlier. This is the times scheduled for a budget hearing for the Amery Board of Education. And with that, I will turn it over to Shar Glenna to report on the 1920 budget.
Okay, thanks, Chelsea. I will be reading the 2019-2020 budget hearing that was prepared by Andy Deeb. 2019-2020 budget hearing. This budget forecast includes a key variable, which includes using the energy efficiency exemption provision of state statute, or of $339,999. The 2019-2020 School District of Amery Fund 10 operating budget will total $21,374 and $21,374,006 compared to the 2018-2019 unaudited expenditures of $20,782,282.02. The increase of the 2019-2020 operating budget from the 2018-2019 expenditures is $591,717.98, or 3%. The levy, or property tax for operation, Fund 10, for 2018-2019 was $7,628,584. The 2019-2020 levy for the operation portion of the budget, Fund 10, will be approximately $7,948,212 for an increase of $319,628 from the 2018-2019 levy. This represents a 5% increase. The 2019-2020 budget contains a levy of $932,150 for debt retirement. The district will also levy $179,254 for unfunded retirement liability. The total tax levy for 2018-2019, including long-term debt, was $8,967,470. The approximate 2019-2020 tax budget for operation and debt retirement is $9,163,616, which is an increase of $196,146, or 3%. State aid to the district for 2019-2020 is anticipated to increase by approximately $182,390, or 2%. As you are aware, our budget will change before it is finalized. Certification of our equalized valuation and the third Friday student enrollment count will all affect our revenue limit. The equalized valuation this year is estimated to be $1 billion. That's $1 billion. It says here. $1 billion.
With a B.
Yep.
$1,376,634 compared to $917,921,417 in 2018-2019, and would represent an increase of approximately 10% from the previous year. Based on these estimates, this would generate a mill rate of 9.13 compared to 9.77 last year, a decrease of 0.64. Based on these projections, this means that on a $100,000 property, the school portion of taxes will decrease by approximately $64.
All right, thank you. I believe that is it for the budget hearing. Is there a motion to adjourn the budget hearing?
So moved.
All right, second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the budget hearing is adjourned. Next, I will call the annual meeting of the School District of Amery to order. This is the annual meeting, and everyone present in this room can be involved in it. We need to start with nominations for a chairperson.
I nominate the annual meeting.
Second.
Okay, are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Okay, is there a motion to close nominations?
So moved. Yes.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I will accept the appointment as chairman for this annual meeting. I will nominate Becky Schmidt for the teller this evening. To begin with, let's look at the consent agenda items. Okay, there are a stack of the booklets over there on the table if anyone's interested. This is also posted online. I believe we can take out the consent agenda items as a group. The approval of minutes, the treasurer's report, and Fund 73 report, and the 18-19 income and expenditures.
I move that we accept the consent agenda items.
Second.
Show the last two.
Okay, why don't we show the last two, the treasurer's report and the Fund 73 report online, and see if there's any discussion or questions.
And if you note on the screen, you'll see the red rectangle around change in fund balance underneath Fund 10. If you follow that down the screen and over, there is an increase to our fund balance of $68,599.37. You as a board have made a commitment to increasing the amount of money we put into the fund balance, and this item reflects just that.
And that'll also equate to increase to a 16% fund balance, if that helps with where we're at percentage-wise to our revenues, and that's what you look at. You divide your fund balance by your revenues, you get the percentage, so your
So it's
budgeted revenues.
It's a 16% increase, or it will now be at 16%?
No, total 16%
It will be
is where
at
we'll be at,
16%.
yeah.
Thank you.
Reflecting what our auditor had shared with us, if we wanted to shoot higher, and this is higher.
Excellent, great. Okay, any other discussion or questions? Okay, we already had a motion to approve by Aaron and a second by Shar, and so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the consent agenda items are approved.
The other
Next-
item that we wanted
Oh,
to see was letter
sorry.
C very quickly.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay, Becky could scan down, you'll see two pie charts. This first pie chart and the second pie chart recommend, or they reflect two opposite sides of the coin, revenue being one and expenditure being the other. Not surprisingly, if you look at the blue portion that you see there, the two largest percentages of that bar graph that are going to contribute to your revenues are your state and federal aid and your property taxes. That's nothing that's ever been different. And then expenditures, you'll see the largest portions of what our expenditures are and always has been are our salaries and our benefits. You need to pay your employees. That amounts to, if you did the percentages together, 65%. I was going to say 2/3. Basically, that's what it is. And that's been the case here for the longest time. So those two items you can see in the packet as well. Pages 9 through 13 are a line item of all details that you might want to know about the budget. If we went through all of that, we would be here for a long time. So those are the items.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next, moving on to the resolutions. The first resolution is school board salaries. If everyone can turn to page 15, it is the last two pages of the book, or report.
Yeah.
The first resolution is to pay the Amery Board of Education $3,000 as a yearly salary and reimburse members of the Amery Board of Education for actual and necessary expenses when traveling in performance of duties. So is there a motion to accept this resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Jessica Smith made the motion. Is there a second?
I would.
Okay. All right, the school board salaries are approved.
Do me a favor.
Huh?
Vote. Take a vote.
Oh, I didn't know that. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. The school board salaries are approved. The next item is the approval of proposed 1920 budget tax levy. And this is, these numbers were filled in from the report that Dale, that you
It's not fun.
This
oh,
is
no,
the-
from
Sorry,
Shars.
Me.
Yep.
Okay.
Red.
That-
Do you have the actual numbers or?
Yes,
The actual numbers Chelsea has in front of her.
Okay.
okay. So it's a resolution that there shall be levied upon the taxable property of the school district of Amery, the tentative sum of $9,163,616, $7,948,212 levy for Fund 10 for the purpose of defraying the operation and maintenance of the public schools for the 1920 school year. The projected mill rate shall be
9.13.
9.13. So is there a motion to approve the proposed 1920 budget tax levy?
So moved.
Okay, there is a motion by Keith Anderson. Is there a second?
So I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the resolution for the approval of proposed 1920 budget tax levy is approved. The next one is the short-term loan authorization. It is necessary to borrow funds to meet the district expenses. The resolution is that the school district of Amery shall be authorized to borrow up to $3 million in short-term loans during the 1920 school year for the purpose of meeting immediate expenses of maintaining the schools for the district. Is there a motion to approve that?
Move to approve the short-term borrowing resolution.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Please-
opposed?
Please note the reason that you need short-term borrowing is that you don't get all of your state aid and property taxes on July 1, and then you have all your money, and then you use it through the year. You get that throughout the year.
And it's a cash flow, yes.
So without this, you can't pay the bills, so to speak. State aid and school finance don't always line up.
All right. The next resolution is the policy on disposal of unwanted equipment and supplies. This is to allow the Board of Education to authorize during the next school year to sell, dispose of any tangible personal property belonging to the school district that is determined by the administration to be no longer needed for school purposes, provided that the maximum aggregate value of such personal property disposed of shall not exceed $7,000 as evidenced by an independent appraisal or competitive bids. Is there a motion to approve that resolution?
So moved.
Okay, there is a motion by Ora. Is there a second?
Second that.
Okay. Any further comments or discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That resolution is adopted. Okay, the next resolution is to lease school property. This one is to allow the Board of Education, in addition to any authority, to lease school sites, buildings, and equipment not needed for school purposes to any person for any lawful use at a reasonable rental. Is there a motion to approve the lease school property?
Yes. I'll so move.
Okay, there a motion by Shar. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Tom. Any discussion or questions? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that resolution is adopted. The next resolution is accident insurance for students. This allows for the Board of Education to provide for accident insurance covering students in the district, and that the costs and expenditures for said insurance is hereby authorized. Is there a motion to approve accident insurance?
So moved.
Okay, motion by Tom Benson. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the accident insurance for students is approved. The next one is the transportation of public or private school students. This will allow the Board of Education to authorize to provide transportation to existing public and private school sites for all students residing within the school district of Amery.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Aaron, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the transportation of public or private school students resolution is adopted. Okay, the last resolution is the 2020-2021 annual meeting date. This would allow the Board of Education to be authorized to hold the next year's annual school district meeting on Monday, September 21st, 2020. Is there a motion to approve the annual meeting date?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the annual meeting date is approved. Okay, the next item on the agenda for the annual meeting is other business legally considered at the annual meeting. I don't believe there is any, but.
There is not.
Okay. Well, with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn the annual meeting.
Move to adjourn the annual meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Now in session for the regular board meeting, so I'm calling the regular board meeting to order, and we will begin with consent agenda items.
I have those, and I make a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
I would second that.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the consent agenda items are approved. Next on the agenda are community comments. Is anyone here for, or signed up for community comments? All right, thank you. The third item is the administrator reports. So I will turn that over to Sean Derfler.
Okay, well, I'll begin, and I'll pass the baton over to the others across the room. Two items that are upcoming here in the School District of Amery. On September 23rd, we have Chris Jakasik, who is from Solution Tree, does PLC work, professional learning community work. She'll be here to work with our elementary, intermediate school teachers in the morning, and then middle and high school in the afternoon. She is fantastic. We've seen her up at CISA, Skyped in. She is going to help us go to the next place on our PLC process. And the second is on October 10th. We have Dr. Jim Harris here to talk to us about trauma-sensitive schools. We have a lot of folks that have been invited from outside of the school system because it's not something that just affects the school system. We have kids that are in all sorts of arenas that are struggling with trauma and how it affects their lives. And he is going to be here for the second time to talk to us about that. He'll also be here on October 9th to meet with Pupil Services staff, counselors, school psychologists, and also our administrative team. So he's here for 2 days working with us, and we're looking forward to both of those speakers. I'll pass it over to the others across the room. Josh, you're up.
Okay. Becky, were you going to pull up the ACT report? Okay, so item number one for us, the ACT scores for our current seniors, which were taken as juniors last spring. The scores for all the area schools have been out and were accessible to the public this week, or this past week. Pleased to report that our current seniors, then juniors, did a remarkable job on the ACT last spring. Within the Middle Border Conference, 8 schools from our conference, we had the third highest score with a 21.1 on the ACT. If you want to go to the next one, Becky. Within our area, CISA, which basically represents Northwest Wisconsin, CISA 11, 5th place out of 39 schools, and once again, with the addition of Osceola and Richmond, it was River Falls and Hudson were the only other schools that were ahead of us, so some pretty big powerhouses, so we did great there. 21.1, so that basically we were in the top % of all schools in the state of Wisconsin, so very nice results for our juniors last year. And then this kind of shows you compositely where we've been the last few years. 21.1 ranks right up there with some of the best scores that we've ever had. So job well done, and hopefully we can keep this trend going in the future. So, other things going on at the high school. We just finished up landscaping facelift at the front of the building. The seated areas are coming in really fast, so that's looking great. The house build, the construction class project is coming along nicely if you get a chance to drive out there. The walls are almost all up, and the roof trusses will be going up soon, and knock on wood, we're a little ahead of schedule for where Mr. Ganji wants to be, but we're in a good place. Homecoming events kicked off this week. The typical event, the kids that are going to be on court were announced today. We started our afternoon activities. Wednesday night, we've got a powder puff game going on. We've got athletic events on Tuesday and Thursday night at home in addition to the Friday night football game, and we had a soccer game at home tonight. So lots of home games this week, which is awesome. We'll have our all-district parade and assembly at approximately 1:30 on Friday if you want to come out and be part of that. Pep rally at the football field to follow. Football game at 7 with the dance and coronation immediately after that. Fall sports, we're basically at the mid-season point for all fall sports. I would just encourage all people, if they're wondering about schedules, cancellations, especially on rainy days, the second that we know a game is canceled, changed, tweaked, we put that in the system literally within 2 minutes, and it updates on the school website and app. So no need to call the school and ask if the game is on. You can just go online and see, and if it's canceled, it comes up in big red bold. We've got in-service coming up. We've conducted our first safety drill, and we've got a small engines field trip coming up on September 25th for our small engines class. So that's the high school.
And good news to report, all members of the board told me in closed session that they wanted to do crowd control on Friday at the Pep Fest.
Nice.
You do not want me in charge of crowd control. It is such a bad idea.
I think
Shall
Dale's been doing
request-
that for 20 years.
Shall I request at middle school specifically?
All right, we're there. I do want to piggyback off of that. I think it's really neat, and I commend the high school, and I think Heidi Williamson for really working hard on. I think it's our second year now where we're going to bring the entire school body together for a Pep Fest, and that doesn't happen very often. It's pretty hard to do, and so it's going to be pretty exciting to see the parade and the Pep Fest again with all the kids together in one location.
If I can, I also forgot to mention, we're doing one other change with that day. The high school's doing their community service day on Friday of homecoming day. It's been rained out in the spring for a number of years in a row, and that day has a tendency of maybe losing some of its educational value. So we found a good way of coming up with something else there to help make that day move by. So hopefully we have a great community service day that morning as well.
Which is important in education, too.
Absolutely.
I guess we do have parent-teacher conferences coming up between now and the next time we meet. So we do have parent-teacher conferences, I think K-8 from 4 to 8 on October 7th, and then district-wide on October 10th from 1 to 8. The middle school we have, in addition to all the different trainings that Mr. Derfler brought up, we also have a lot of interesting trainings. We have a peer tutor training coming up soon. We have peer mediator training. We have a student leadership team training. And then those leadership kids are going to be coming forward and putting together an 8th grade anti-bullying presentation, which we've done every year for about the last 15 years. It's been really neat. And we'll have our kids out at Camp Wapo on the low ropes course. And then they come back for an anti-bullying presentation. It's kind of planned by the kids, and we have a mural that's painted that represents their class for the year. We also have a 7th grade science field trip coming up, so it'll be very busy between now and then.
Okay, intermediate school also plans to be involved in the homecoming activities. We had several staff and students that showed up in PJs today, and they were having a good time with it. Last week, we finished our benchmark testing. All students in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade do benchmark testing in reading and math, and so that is complete. Teachers are working on their SLOs and PPGs, so that's student learning objectives and their professional practice goals, which will be due at the end of the week or next week. And so they are working on their goals for the year. And then also our peer mediators are going out to the Y Camp to participate in their ropes class.
Okay, the elementary school will be benchmark testing next week. We are going to do a new format for the testing, instead of having our teachers test, which kind of blows up our school because there's no structure and routine because there are so many subs in the building, we're going to try a SWAT team method, which we learned from another district, where we're going to have our title teachers, and we're bringing in some teachers that just retired last year, myself. We're going to be creating this team that will test our students. And it's the first time we're going to try it, but we're really excited about it because we feel that it will impact the school environment when there's not so many subs testing. Plus, we have a sub shortage, and so we're going to see how that goes for next week. We also have Family Math Night coming up. Family Math Night is one of our family celebrations that the elementary school hosts. This year we're going to try something different. We're going to have our students do some demonstration of our new math program, the math vocabulary, and basically educate the families that are present at Family Math Night. And then after that, we're going to have glow-in-the-dark bingo. So we're excited about that, and that's open up to all of our children and their families. And then this week on Thursday is our first Parents as Partners meeting. Parents as Partners is a group of parents that work with me, the principal, and it's going to be from 8:30 to 10 in the morning. And again, that is open to all of our parents interested in being on that committee.
In the world of Pupil Services, we had on September 12th an implementation consultant with Houghton Mifflin by the name of Bill Jenner work with our teachers. So teachers attended a training for Read 180 and System 44. Those are reading intervention programs that are online curriculums. We've got a co-taught section of that, or a couple of them at the high school, and we also have middle school classes with students in Read 180 and System 44. So he'll be back in November, but it's great to get things up and rolling, iron out some of the technical pieces, and getting students benchmark tested for that and in their appropriate places is always a challenge. I do want to thank Jessica Smith, who does a lot of management of that data and popping kids in and out of seats when they need to be moved, as well as Dana Prindle at the high school. They really run that communication, and it's a really valuable and important piece to keeping that system going. And the other calendar invite is on October 10th, coinciding with the Parent-Teacher Conference night. We'll be doing our Child Development Days, which is a child find obligation under IDEA. We're obligated to look out and for all students that might have learning challenges. So these are typically the younger kids, 2, 3, 4, that may not be attending school or clubhouse at this time. We're sending out mailers through the list that we've generated through Power School. Anybody that has a younger sibling in a school or that we know about through birth records will be getting a letter inviting them to Child Development Days, and that's on, again, October 10th from 1 p.m. to 7:30 at the elementary school. So it'll be a busy night. It always is. We'll look forward to working with the staff and having a lot of activity there at the elementary school during conferences.
All right, thank you. The next item are the informational items. However, I'm going to skip over them for now and come back because I see the Amery's Lions Club is here, and so I thought we would go to the first item on the action item list and have Sean Derfler announce the Amery Lions Club and what this donation is about.
Our friends from the Amery Lions Club are here on August 5th. They did their annual golf outing, and they were gracious enough to donate the proceeds of that outing to the school district Angel Fund, split between our 4 buildings, and they're here to donate a check of $4,800, split 4 ways, $1,200 per building. I can say with certainty it wasn't the best weather day we've ever had, but we can control lots of things. That is not one of them. So I'm not sure how we want to organize our photo opportunity, but we want you to be recognized, so why don't we come on up and we can be part of the picture? I'm not sure how you all want to do that.
Where's David? He's our leader.
Or you absolutely, whoever your leader is.
We have a lot of Daves in this group.
Okay, all right.
Come on up.
I bet you could fit them all in there.
Yeah, come be in the picture.
Sure, all right. Let's get that second.
Let's get her across the front.
Wear a hat in there?
Sure. Hey, donate $400, you wear what you
You
want.
can do whatever you want.
It's not a courtroom.
Yeah.
Get in behind there.
Get everybody in here. We don't want to.
Short girls in front. Come on, short girls.
Yeah, there you go. Get your head out there. Hey.
Doc. There's Doc.
My hair okay? Ready as ever. Curly as ever.
Okay, Doc, a little bit. Doc this way. There you
I would say that the people who really worked on it, Jerry and Norm and Ray and Jeff Weideman and John Noah were instrumental in getting the whole thing together, so. Jerry was the guy that really pulled the reins here. Norm started this thing 10 years ago. So, and he's still on the committee, so. It's a great program, and it's getting bigger, and hopefully we can get more of you to play in it next year. Thanks for the support this
Stay for the rest of me if you want to, or you can leave.
We have a lot of meetings.
Thank you so much for your hard work and your donation for the money. It's, it's amazing the budget that we have. It does it, it covers all of the stuff that we have to have. But this is what a wonderful thing you've done for our kids that's above and beyond. And man, there's sure kids in this district that really need it, and we really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Better next year.
There you go.
Set the goal.
Weather permitting.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to save the dates.
Rolls on.
All right, that is an action item, so I'll take a motion to accept that donation and to distribute it accordingly.
I make a motion to accept the Amery Lions Club donation to our Angel Fund.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carried. All right, so now scooting back to the informational items. The first informational item that we are going to hear about is the building and grounds update from Mr. Saisworth.
Okay, we've got two large items that we worked on over the course of really the last 4 to 6 months. We have an elementary school upgrade, and we also had a middle school roof problem. If you remember correctly, we had a wall flashing issue, and I won't get into the nitty-gritty details of what wall flashing does, but if you look at the picture on the screen, that's not going to work. That is supposed to keep the water away from the walls, and it had failed, and we had to get in the walls and fix that. So I'm going to turn it over to you, George, and you can walk us through what you see here with slides.
I think if you would have informed the Lions that I was going to be up here talking about through-wall flashing and tipping blocks on a parapet wall, they would have all stayed.
Probably not.
You can go catch them.
They can watch
I
it
think
on
they
Channel
heard
3.
and they even sped up. Yeah, this would basically be a before picture. The through-wall flashing is actually that piece right here. It was basically a poly product that failed in all the buildings back then. It's just a matter of time when they fail, not if they fail. And when we got into the wall, it was crumbling. It wasn't out to the edge. And then the weeds over there were plastic rather than the rope style that this one is showing. And that, being a poly product, disintegrated as well, they were a smaller type weep where we could clean them out daily, and the next day there'd be mud bees right back in there. So the new flashing is a rubberized material. It's not going to fail. And the detail, if you notice the elevation changes at the elementary, that's not brick, that's all just coarse block under there. And that steps down as the earth goes down. And that flashing detail wasn't, at the areas like here, it wasn't flashed correctly, so when water would get to that point and wouldn't come out the weeps, it would dump into an area that would fill the inside block or allow moisture to get in there. So we were just struggling keeping paint on the wall. The block was just kind of damp. So this is the end product. New windowsills. We couldn't get the brick that was original to 1987. It's an odd size that they don't make anymore. So we picked a little bit larger, and Cheryl picked out the one that she could live with that matched the darkest brick on the original 67 building. So if you can just back up, this is exactly where we're at right now, minus the rope, foam rope there, backer. They still need to caulk along those windows and then the center between the two sills. And then the black dirt is there, but obviously it just doesn't quit raining. But they assure me it'll be completed this week, so that's exciting.
Wow. Yeah. And we haven't had any trouble with all this rain that we've had, with all the construction going on left to do? We've been okay with that, or?
Yeah, where they had trouble is they would put the plastic up from the roof down so they would keep the water out of the trench, but along with the rain came a lot of wind. So a lot of times they're plastic. So they would basically have to pump out a couple feet of water before they could start working. So here's another picture of the finished product minus the black dirt and the new seed.
And the stump. We lost a tree midway through.
Tree, yep.
What are you going to do?
The interior blocks, 4 or 5 courses were scraped and repainted. And I'm not sure how this got in there, but it looks great. Picture of the new Montessori flooring. We went away from vinyl tile to a vinyl type planking, which really does look nice. And the middle school. Basically, we had a parapet wall. For some reason, we're not quite sure if it was actually the roof or not, but for some reason, those blocks were tipping in. And what the designers felt was probably the right thing to do, go in there, re-tuck point all the blocks that were loose, and then because this block faded so poorly, it wasn't necessarily an outdoor type tile. It wasn't that great to look at. So they put in the next slide, they just dropped the cap and the fascia down to cover that up. And I think it looks really nice.
That second line there used to match the same color as the top line. If you look
right
above that window, those tiles have faded that much.
Yeah, so if anybody says we picked the wrong color, that's actually the right color. The color that's on there is faded so much. That front gable almost looks orange. So we're complete over there.
So those were our big projects with the good graces of our community. These were referendum dollars that were used to pay for these projects. It's not pretty, if you will, but it was absolutely a necessity based on where we live. Keep in mind on the horizon, there's all sorts of things that always need to be done. A couple of things to keep on the radar. We have an auditorium that's pretty heavily used. We have lighting and sound issues that are 22 years old there. So we have to keep our eyes on that. We have a very healthy number of kids playing tennis, and we have but 4 courts to have them on. We have kids that are actually making the trek all the way down to North Twin to play tennis, which isn't ideal. That's not right around the corner. That's about 2 miles around the corner. We've got some flooring issues going on at the middle school we're going to have to tackle over the course of the next year. We've got a very, very outdated science wing at the high school that we're going to have to take a look at. Those rooms in some cases are original to the building. In some cases were 1997, but still not done very well, so we'll have to take a look at that. There's always items to continue to look at. And don't forget about Phase 2. You've heard about Phase 1 of this Safety and Security Phase 2. That's still happening and looking at after the first of the year. And the reason for the delay on that is everyone applied for the grant. Everyone that got the grant contracted work. Not all the work's getting done. And people that do that work are very much backlogged. So we're looking at after the first of the year, you update the PA systems and clocks. So that'll happen, just not soon. So questions for George or for myself?
Any way to paint the other tile?
That was done. And then what happened was
Peeled off.
it peeled and got even more hideous looking. And we actually had that bead blasted with corn to get the peeling stuff off. I did that in 08 or 09. So yeah, it was done. And I talked to a number of guys to ask them if there's a miracle product that'll, go on outside and stay and look nice for years, but they just. The tile
Only a
is
can
done.
of spray paint in the middle of the night.
Of
That'll
course,
stay there.
yeah.
For sure.
If they put
Forever.
graffiti on there, we can't ever get that
Yeah.
off. But
Yeah.
I think in the feasibility study, our long-range planning, that's even on there to maybe chip that off and maybe put a new tile on there if Santa Claus rolled into town. But yeah, it'll only get whiter. So thankfully, we are red and white, correct?
Yeah.
So, any other questions?
Thank you,
It
George.
feels like I was just here, and I
You were.
didn't like talking about these 2 projects, and now I'm back, and I still don't like talking about these 2 projects. But I have to say, the construction went very well, as quickly as it was put together. Restoration Corporation,
You got it.
yeah, they did a great job. Basically, they were on schedule. Mother Nature was the only one that was able to slow them down. But middle school, and for the most part, they were great to work with. I don't think there was too much for interruptions or noise. The elementary was a little tougher, but I mean, they were dealing with the whole back of that school. But things went well. Thank you.
Outstanding.
Yeah, thank you, George.
Thank you.
The next informational item to review is the first reading of various board policies.
Okay, as promised, I'll continue to bring you policies that were outdated. We have a half dozen of those here this evening. It's always interesting to read policies from the late 80s or early 90s, what they have in there. And you'll see some of that tonight. The first policy is a 4th grade and an 8th grade promotion policy. Please know that you are mandated by the state to have a promotion policy, and we have for the longest time. The only change that you see here is that it's outdated language in regards to the test that's used. The WKCE hasn't been given here in quite some time, so we simply stated standardized test scores because that could be a lot of different things depending on the building. So that's a change that was made there. And this was written in 2000 when WKCE was right in the middle of things. Testing programs, we do testing all over the place in this building or in this district. It notes here 3rd grade reading test. It seems senseless to just indicate one building when it's happening in all 4, so I simply put a line through that section. EEN students, it used to be the case, certainly, that you could opt your EEN students out of certain standardized tests, but the rigor and the accountability of that, it no longer allows you to do that. So the green portion there reads, students with disabilities are obligated to take mandated standardized achievement tests. Students with disabilities who are exempt from these tests are those who have been opted out by their parents. That's what these tests require of us. We can't, the parents can. Further, the noted part in the green in the next paragraph, students with disabilities who are eligible for test modifications can receive them. We, as a school system, are obligated to make modifications that are listed in a student's IEP, and we do so. You simply have to indicate what those modifications are by letting the state know. There's a whole system, a whole process for that special ed undertakes. English language learners, it is also the case that they need to take the test. You may think that that is unreasonable. It isn't our choice, but English learners do take the test unless they're excused by a parent. They are taking the test. What it stated there, we would do proficiency tests and see if they were able to do well. That's not what happens anymore. They take the test. So those policy revisions, that dates all the way back to 1990, so a lot's changed in the last 30 years in education.
Is
The
that,
Go ahead.
sorry, is that made known to the parents of English learners that they can opt out if
Yes.
they feel their student?
If we feel that that would be in their best interest, we will simply indicate to them, this is something that you can so choose to do. There are kids, and we have a family right now, who has a student that is not proficient in their actual native language. So to take it in a second language altogether would be beyond unreasonable. So, yeah, that would be a prime candidate for an opt-out situation.
Just wanted to.
Good question.
And if a student right now, it used to be if a student opted out, you had to have a certain percentage take that. Now if a student opts out, it counts as basically a 0 for the district. The score doesn't go in as a negative score, but when they say what percentage of your kids met proficiency, they're there. So it lowers your numbers down quite a bit. So when someone does opt out, and you only have, let's say, 100 kids, that's 1 or 2, percentage points right off before you even started.
It's a spot where standardized testing has gone wrong, because those types of kids shouldn't count against anybody. It's in their best interest to not be in that test population, but they are in most cases. The next board policy is 420 school admission guidelines. The language that you see noted under credit equivalency stated that 70% mastery, taking competency tests. Basically, they receive academic credit for their previous schools. So we have a student that transfers here from Clayton. We honor their transcript. We look at it, and we honor and give them credit for the classes that they've taken. In some cases, it's a letter grade. In other cases, it's a pass-fail. But we don't go through a rigorous process of giving them mastery tests. We want to get them started and get them moving because we have to know what classes they're even supposed to be in. So transcripts will be used. And the pass-fail is noted there in that second bullet point. The admission rule, school admission guidelines, page 2, it's just needless language. I just got it out of there. Number 7, students will be permitted to remain in the before or after class for up to 30 minutes unless supervised. They can either take the class or they don't take the class. What this is course options. Typically at the high school, a student can, in essence, petition to take the course in our district from another district. They can do 2 in a year. And that language, I think, is for supervisory reasons. They're not sticking around if they even are coming at all. They're taking the class and being on their way back to their home base. So there's no reason to have that there. Then I changed number 8 to number 7. And lastly, students will not be allowed to participate in any WIA activities or participate in co-curricular activities listed in groups A or B of the current co-curricular activity code. And that's in direct reference to homeschool students. Homeschool students can play WIA athletics and have and still do in this district and in many others. That's happening. So that language was very outdated. It's 1990. For the longest time, they weren't able to play, but now they are. The next board policy is 443, student conduct on school buses. Basically, the change that was made here is twofold. One, a student may not be suspended more than 5 school days because by state law they cannot be unless you're moving to an expulsion hearing. You need to bring them back. And typically, we don't have kids off the school bus for that length of time anyway. And the next item, I don't know if you knew this or not, you could have been the school bus police, because it says if delinquent behavior requires the suspension of transportation privileges for more than 3 school days, the board shall make such a ruling. So you haven't been doing that since 1981, so we might as well just take that out of there, because I don't think you want to be in charge of school bus police. You've got enough to handle by supervising homecoming on Friday. The next board policy is 443.2. This is conduct on the bus. There's all sorts of rules of the road there. And on the next page, it gets you out of the mix again by being the arbiter of their punishment, so we remove that. So that's what that reference is. And I
Really
believe.
quickly on that, since we are going to update the policy, I think that we should look a little bit more closely at number 5 on the first page.
Okay.
Boom boxes are not allowed on the bus at any time. I mean, if we're gonna update the policy, we might as well update that.
What are you saying? They don't know what that means?
I don't think we need to specify, but maybe we need to say,
Hey, what goes around comes around.
no
I want
loud
all of
playing
you with-
music, loud playing of music will not
They
be-
are.
All of you with high
Yes.
school kids, I want you to ask what a boombox is and see what they say.
Yeah, they're out there again. They're back.
Boomboxes are back.
Yeah.
I did not know.
Yeah.
But now you hook up your,
Anything that
iPod.
makes loud
Phone to
sounds,
it.
Yeah.
something like that. Loud music, not
Yeah.
allowed
Music
on
is
the
not
bus.
allowed.
yeah, loud playing of music or something. And
Keep
then
your music to yourself.
Well,
number
you know, the
4.
bus driver can always put on a polka.
I don't know that number 4 is
And crank her up.
actually true. No eating or drinking on the bus. Students
think
only
they
allowed to
are.
eat or drink on the bus for select out-of-town events. I
think they are.
I think they can for sporting, but I don't know about.
mean,
To
I've
and from
heard that it
school.
seems like it's up to the bus driver because some of my
Probably
kids
is.
have said
I
like,
think
oh, I
it
can
is.
finish it on the bus, and other kids have said, so.
Yeah.
Again, if we're looking over the policy, I would just,
Well, I think it's a good idea to keep it in there because then
Sure.
it is then just up to.
You'll see it again next month, and you can weigh in for a final decision at
Yeah.
that time. But yeah, I have a good point, absolutely.
And also with number 7, that's true up to a certain age group, correct? Like, I mean, or is that?
No,
is that-
that's true. We require kids
Okay.
to have, because what kids will do, particularly at the middle and high school, they'll just run it past the bus driver, and mom and dad have no idea.
Oh, okay.
Let's get on the
Sure.
bus. Drop me off at so-and-so's house.
Yeah, they want to go to
Oh, boy.
so-and-so's house. They won't
Okay,
allow
I thought it
them.
was only up until a certain age where they needed that, and then they were, okay.
And then mom and dad call us
they
and
can
ask
stay
why
at
wasn't my
school
kid
without
dropped
parent
off.
permission. Like, they
Right.
can stay after school without parent
Right.
permission.
Yeah,
They
that's,
can't-
maybe that's what I was
They
thinking.
can't get on a different bus.
Yeah. And they've been pretty strict on that yet, where they have to have
Yeah.
our signature to get off at a certain location.
Mm-hmm.
The last board policy should be pretty simple to modify, and that is the valedictorian and salutatorian. We haven't had one of those here in the better part of 6-7 years, so we just got rid of it altogether. We
Goes
don't
away.
use valedictorian and salutatorian for state scholarship purposes, like the academic excellence. They ask for the top-ranked graduating senior. We use it then, or if a scholarship asks for that as top-ranked graduating senior, we just look at the numbers and we give them that name. But we don't track it. So those are the policies for the month of September.
All right. Now we are on to action items. We already covered the Amery Lions Club Angel Fund donation. So the next item would be the Amery Police Department enforcement of city ordinances.
At the July City Council meeting, the conversation surrounded, can the police enforce traffic laws on school grounds? Can we do that? So they looked up what the statute was, and it does say, according to statute 118.105, control of traffic on school premises, it reads, any school board may request local authorities to control motor vehicle and pedestrian traffic on off-highway school premises located within the jurisdiction of such local authorities. Basically, what they're asking us to do is pass a resolution stating we want them to do that, and yes, we want them to do that, not because we want people to get speeding tickets. We want them to protect the safety of our school environment for our students and for our staff. So I would encourage you to adopt this resolution so they can be here doing their business on campus, and this is that resolution.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion, we approve the Amery Police Department enforcement of city ordinances.
Second?
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. The Police Department enforcement of city ordinances is approved. Now we are into more board policies. Second, final reading.
Final reading of board policies. Administrative team, no changes were made to this since we met last. The next policy on the docket, it's 322, lunch hour activities. It was noted that we did have students properly excused by their parent or guardian. And the language change was not school day, but rather lunch. It's true of school day, but this policy is about lunch, so we made lunch that's explicit reference there. The next policy, report cards. We got rid of item number 1, which basically notes that report cards shall not be issued to kindergartners. The progress of kindergartners shall be reported during parent-teacher conferences, and the reason we got rid of that is because number 2 encompasses it. You're tracking the progress of students throughout the school year. And we didn't need number 1 if number 2 was there. Number 4 we got rid of because that's not what we do. And there weren't any further changes there. The graduation policy, I believe, remained the same. We scanned down. Any changes that I made are in blue on the screen from your adoption of this last time, or your viewing of this last time. This one has remained unchanged. So we keep going down. I think there's one other change in this than the lunch account policy. The lunch account policy, School District of Amery unpaid meal charges. The guiding principle in this policy has always been to not lunch shame students. It isn't their fault, if you will, that they're unable to keep a sufficient balance there. That's by no means the kids' issue. So the courtesy call from the nutrition department will continue to happen when they fall below $6 that you wanted to remain there, and that has remained there. And then when it falls below $25, that we will, in essence, try and initiate a payment plan of some sort to make sure that they can remedy this debt. We are not yanking lunch trays out of students' hands and telling them they can't eat. We're going to do 17 different things before we get to that point. And usually we can work with families to the point where we can arrange a payment plan of some reasonable timeline, and it works out just fine. Usually it's not an issue at all. So those were the adopted changes for those 8 policies from last time to this time.
Is there a motion to adopt the second readings of the 8 policies? Is that
So moved.
approved? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the policies are updated and approved. The last item is personnel action. We reviewed this in closed session earlier, and so unless there's any further discussion, I'll take a motion to approve the new employee contracts and resignations.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The contracts and resignations are approved. There's no reason to go back into closed session, so I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call. Aaron?
Yes.
Shar?
Yes.
Keith?
Yep.
Dale?
Yes.